But great. You should seriously consider becoming a screenwriter. What in the actual
We all know, in movie industry, sequels often end up being worse than the original movies. And in most cases, movie creators cannot replicate the success of the original product. There are some exceptions, of course, but usually the quality of the sequel raises only one question to creators.
Why did you do that? What was it all for?
Imagine a scenario where you have one really good movie, and then you decide to make 6 more sequels, and each of them is getting worse than the previous one. It's like taking a glass of juice and mixing it with 1 glass of water. The result product would still have a bit of juice taste, the original juice color, and be less sweetened. And now imagine repeating this process 6 more times. So eventually this product would look more like water, not juice at all. This is exactly what happened with Police Academy franchise. When creators started diluting the interesting original idea, good cast and well-written script with clownery and absurdly dumb strategies. And that's how we got Police Academy 7. The first Police Academy movie was released in 1984, and it was pretty good. A solid and standard American style comedy for that period. But each next sequel attempted to recreate the atmosphere of the original, but they ended up with weaker script, missing some nice cast members, and adding more and more joke-free scenes to the plot. Can you imagine what we received in Police Academy 7? I bet you can't. Let's take a look. The movie kicks off by introducing a new super video game designed to break computer security system and, as always, conquer the world. This brilliant plan is hatched by Russian mafia boss Dieter Reinhardt. Oh wait, Konstantin Kanali. He's chilling in the middle of Red Square in Moscow and suddenly deciding that it's time to step out of the shadows. Well, yeah, makes sense. As if you are in the shadows, you can visit Red Square only at nights.
That roaring tiger. And who?
Russian cops can't stop Kanali because, well, they're probably busy perfecting acrobatics and clownery. So Commandant Rakov, with approval of Boris Nikolaevich, reaches out to his American colleague, Commandant Lassard, gently asking him to come and kick Kanali's ass. As we know, Lassard is always up for adventures, so he assembles a team of officers: Jones, Tackleberry, Callahan, Harris, we all know them from previous Police Academy parts, and a new guy, Cadet Connors. So our team heads to Moscow to face to their main enemy. Not this one. The Russian culture. They meet Commandant Rakov,
Alexander Nikolaevich.
head of crime unit Talinsky, and a person who should participate in the movie's love story, Katya Sergey. Exiting from the airport, where Lassard mistakenly gets into a wrong car for funeral ceremony. Because, you know, all funerals in Russia go through the airports. So, instead of chasing Kanali, Lassard is going to spend next days in a typical Russian family, diving headlong into Russian culture. Meanwhile, the rest of the team settles into the hotel, and Talinsky, who lost Lassard in airport, pays a bellboy to pretend he's Lassard, who gets sick and wants to stay in the room. The next day, Rakov gives American cops instructions where to find Kanali: restaurant, dacha or warehouse. And of course, at the same time, in restaurant, Kanali comes up with a fresh, breathtaking idea to create an even more addictive video game that can hack into security systems of world powers, so he can control banks, stock markets and other country governments.
Genius, genius, genius!
Then we're gonna watch lots of comedy-ish scenes showing how our American crew overcomes cultural differences and uses their unique skills. So Tackleberry spread the terror among people, Connors tried to deep dive into Katya and when failed into other girls nearby. Callahan beats bad Russian guys. At construction site, Captain Harris as usually is sneaking around and gets into tasting of Russian cuisine. Jones performs nice bike tricks in Gorky Park and gets some help from Babushka.
Get up!
And what does Lassard do? He really enjoys being with family when no one knows and fully understands him. Eventually, the team decides to infiltrate Canale's gang. Connors gets work as a security guard and Callahan as being Canale's girlfriend. The game is created, Canale is happy, but Lassard and his team are still a threat despite being totally useless. So Konstantin decides to compromise them by sending an anonymous letter about black market weapon sales during a ballet in the Bolshoi Theater. And then we are being tortured with this. Turns out, the meeting was just a setup for American cops to make Canale a victim of police harassment. So Rakov and Talinsky are furious and order Americans to leave Russia the next day. In the morning, as the team gets ready to go to the airport, members of Canale's gang take Callahan away. The Americans and Russian cops try to catch the car with Callahan. And honestly, chasing scene is one of the few that's really interesting to watch. A sunny day, panoramic views of beautiful Moscow, with a bit of historical context of course. Old Soviet cars and some comedy-style but action-packed moments make you feel the atmosphere of post-Soviet Moscow.
He's going to get killed!
No, he's not going to get killed. Nobody on my team gets killed, and that's an order.
The cops eventually loot the car with Callahan, but thankfully they put a tracker device on it. The next scene takes us to Canale's dacha. Callahan is already dressed up as a Canale's girlfriend and he proposes to her.
You will marry me.
But that wasn't part of her plan, so she politely declines his proposal. At the same time, the super dangerous game penetrates Russian police computers, giving Canale access to all secret data. He heads to his warehouse to finish the process of Russia's conquest. The American cops come into the dacha to free Callahan, which isn't required by that time already. So everyone goes to the warehouse now. In the warehouse, cops try to prevent the game from going into the world market, but they can't do that without a password.
Main menu.
So Connors, our alpha genius, finally guesses the password, and Canale's evil plan to have the world destroyed is prevented. Mission accomplished, great success, congratulations. And when we're just happy that the movie is almost over, this bastard Canale manages to run away from the cops. And guess what? There is a restaurant in Warehouse where Commandant Lassard and his new family are celebrating something. Probably the death of that person they had funeral for recently. Anyway, Canale recognizes Lassard and thinks he's come to arrest him. So bring one more action.
pressure where...
You can't have me.
I don't want you.
Fight. Finish him. Fatality.
Okay, now everything is over. I promise. Everyone is happy, Katya goes to America, Lazar gets an award for being the second most useless alco comrade in Russia. And there is a Brezhnev goodbye kiss for your pleasure. Goodbye to all. Oh wait, there is also a scene at the end, where all the regulars, dressed up like Cossacks, are doing some tricks on horses. So I guess it's kind of a farewell from the main cast to the Police Academy franchise. Alright, let's summarize everything we just watched in Mission to Moscow. The first and pretty obvious part is missing some of the regular actors. Compared to previous part, City Under Siege, we're not gonna see Boba Fett, Hightower, and Marion Ramsey, Hooks. They both were part of main crew starting from very first Police Academy movie. Although initially Hightower was included in Mission to Moscow, actor decided to withdraw from the movie in defense of Marion, who didn't get a role in the script. We also missed Lance Kinsey, who played Proctor in previous parts, so this definitely took away one of the most funny couples of the entire franchise. What about new cast? Pretty good and well-known today actors Christopher Lee, Ron Perlman, and Claire Forlani. Unfortunately, they weren't so good in the movie. Christopher Lee, as Commandant Rakov, looks unnatural, caricature, annoying and overacting. Ron Perlman is really good actor with a talent to play bad guys, but being a Russian mafia boss with his typical American look sounds like a bad idea. Plus, again, stereotyped character and overacting left a really sad impression after all. For Claire Forlani, it was just starting of her career, and it's quite noticeable. Her weak character, Katerina Sergei, seems just like a part of movie's extras. Sad but true. Regular cast members were also disappointing. Jones doesn't have much time for improvisation and things that we love him for. Tackleberry seems to be placed in the situations that were specifically created for him, without any need for character development or script. Harris looks lonely without his comrade Proctor. Although G.W. Bailey does a good job staying consistent within the character, the lack of jokes and overacting played a really bad role in the movie. George Gaines' performance as Commandant Lassard is singled out for praise, with the actor being commended for his dedication to the role. Okay, let's talk about script. Mission to Moscow's highlight would be lack of humor. Of course, there are pretty good jokes and gags, but their number tends to 0, so you're probably gonna watch the movie with poker face for the most of the time. The plot is also kinda predictable and dry. Again, the idea of taking Police Academy crew and send them to a different country to fight post-Soviet mafia is really great and interesting, although it's not new. We could clearly see parallels with Red Heat, which was released in 1988. Okay, Red Heat is a different genre, and the budget was also different, but it doesn't mean that it could be an excuse for really poor execution of Police Academy. So, poor plot and execution, disappointing original cast, overacting, caricature, new cast, and generally low quality of almost all aspects of the movie.
Could be worse. How? Could be raining.
That's unlikely, and critical reception by the audience shows that seventh movie actually killed the entire franchise. And today we can't even imagine any reboot, also considering the fact of some original cast members already passed away. Are there any positive elements in Mission to Moscow? Well, of course. Despite the film's flaws, it's still engaging, specifically due to the presence of well-known and loved characters being in unusual environment. The main crew of Lassard, Jones, Tackleberry, Callahan and Harris has been making us laugh for a long period. I grew up in Russia in 90s and Police Academy franchise was one of the top content watched on VHS. So even though everyone sees how quality of product dropped dramatically from first movie to seventh, the characters still remained familiar and everyone wanted to see them in action again and again. Also, it was a really good approach to show Russia and Russian culture in the beginning of 90s, just after Soviet Union collapsed. Exploring the country's atmosphere and providing a unique perspective on Moscow during a challenging period make me rewatch this movie from time to time. It also could explain different reception between audiences. We can easily highlight a disparity in opinions between English speakers and Russian speakers. Police Academy 7 has rating of 3.5 on IMDb, while Russian Kinopoisk shows 5.1 out of 10 for the same movie. I guess people who lived in post-Soviet countries and who still remember that time might be influenced by nostalgia and therefore appreciate certain aspects of the film, finding it tolerable or even enjoyable. In conclusion, watching the Police Academy series go downhill, especially in 7th one, just makes me wish we could go back to the good old 80s and 90s comedies. Back then, it was okay to make fun of a bunch of things that we can't laugh about today. The humor had a freedom, and it was so nice, exploring all kinds of jokes without overthinking it. Everything is different today, and we've got new rules. But yeah, I really miss the straightforward laughs of those good old days.